أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الرسول بلغ ما أنزل إليك من ربك وإن لم تفعل فما بلغت رسالته والله يعصمك من الناس إن الله لا يهدي القوم الكافرين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. These words mean, from Surah Maidah, ayah number 67, O Messenger, convey what has been revealed to you, just been revealed to you. And if you do not do so, you will not have conveyed his message at all. And Allah shall protect you from people. Surely Allah will not guide the unbelieving people. All praise is due to Allah, who is exalted in his unity, near in his uniqueness, sublime in his authority, magnanimous in his dominance. He knows everything. He subdues all creation through his might and evidence. He is praised always and forever, glorified and has no end. He begins and he repeats again, and to him every matter is referred. Allah is the creator of everything. He dominates with his power the earth and the heavens. Holy is he and praised, the Lord of the angels and of the spirits. His favors overwhelm whatever he creates, and he is the mighty over whatever he initiates. These are the words that began the sermon of Eid Al-Ghadeer. For in all sermons by the Holy Prophet ﷺ and our beloved A'imma, they always began with the praises of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in magnificent words, glorifying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, praising him to no end and showing his dominance and dominion. No message was conveyed without the remembrance of Allah and his majesty. And so we began this evening's lecture in the same vein. And in this speech, the Eid Al-Ghadeer speech, you have to realize, brothers and sisters, was not just one line. When you read about the Eid Al-Ghadeer event, many scholars, both Western and otherwise, from other schools of thought, they like to limit this speech to one line. What line do they limit it to? Man kuntu mawlahu fa aliyun mawlahu. Whomsoever accepts me as master, accepts Ali as master. Yes? Every scholar would like to reduce this speech, which was actually, if you have read it yourself, is almost 2.5 to 3 hours long. A 2.5-hour sermon reduced to one line. And the enemies of Ali, what would they like us to think? That the Holy Prophet stopped all of these people in this hot desert place, thousands of people, right? For what purpose? To tell them all that this is his friend? Astaghfirullah. This is not the character of our Prophet. He did not trifle with people. He did not waste their time. He did not consider their feelings insignificant or their needs insignificant. No, rather, he was very attentive to the people. There's no way that he would have stopped that many people for any purpose other than something magnificent, glorious, significant, and absolutely relevant to the religion itself. And this is what we're here to discuss. Now, one of the points that I'm going to be discussing today is the love and hate of Imam Ali, because this noble person sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who was the twin of our beloved Prophet, was deeply loved by those who were loyal to him, and he was incredibly and fiercely hated by those who were his enemies. And even to this day, those people still exist who fight this noble being in defiance of the Prophet's guidelines. But who is this character? Who is Imam Ali al-Murtada, the chosen one, alayhi salam? Here's what we see from our scholars. He's the chief of the Prophet's successors, the leader of the untainted ones at the resurrection, the most righteous among the believers, Ali ibn Abi Talib, the Imam of right guidance, the first to reach the gardens of felicity, the hero of the brave, the avenger against the promoters of ignorance, the giver of zakah, the leader on the right and perfect path, the speaker of what is true and appropriate, the champion of Mecca, the steadfast exceller. Now this comes to us from our history, but let me ask you something. Who was lauding him like this? Who was giving him this praise? Who honored him this way? Those words I've just read to you are recorded in history. Who actually said them? Do you think it's someone who was completely in love with Imam Ali, had no grievances against him? Do you know who this was? It was a friend of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam who had fallen into sin, but he had submitted to the prescribed punishment for his crime, the cutting of his fingers. The cutting of his fingers. Now, there was a Khawarij, an instigator, an agitator who came to him by the name of Ibn Kawa. He said to this man, "Why should I not extol him?" he said. "Now that his friendship is mixed with flesh and blood." He says, "I swear by Allah that he did not cut off my hand except with a right that Allah has established." This is someone who took punishment from Amir al-Mu'mineen that was mandated by Allah's guidance, and yet these are the words he uses to describe Imam Ali. Isn't that magnificent? He praises him, he honors him, he elevates his position, and he submitted to the truth that he brought forward. Now, this is the force of love. This is true magnetism. Now, when we look at this idea of love, which is our theme tonight, because we are all lovers of Imam Ali alayhi salam, we need to examine, first of all, what does that mean and how do we put it into practice in reality? Because it's only one thing to say it with our lips, it's another thing to live it. It's another thing to testify it over and over again, and it's another thing to really pay bay'ah to our beloved Imam Ali. Now, nothing in the universe exists without attraction and connection. It's a potent force. It's enigmatic. We see from the atomic level that forces bind all of creation together, from our own physiology to the global and galactic level, the atmosphere that clings to the earth, to the forces that keep the solar system in motion and galaxies in perpetual motion. We see this force that binds. Now, I was speaking to a physiology student once, and this person said to me, "I was amazed by the dua of Imam Hussein alayhi salam on the day of Arafah." A physiology student, right? Because in this beautiful dua, Imam Hussein describes all the pathways of the body. And it's just remarkable. And here too, we see these bonds that keep this entire physiology together. The places to which streams of light of my eyes are attached, the places where my heart's diaphragm is attached, and all these sinews that somehow stay bound together, this force of magnetism that we even experience within our own being. Now, on the human level, this basis of attraction and love is resemblance. We love to connect with those whom we resemble. We love to connect with those whom we are like. Or the opposite can happen as well. But to this point, we'll focus on that love that brings you together. Now, recognizing potent forces like love, one must also realize the opposite exists as well, because everything exists in polarities, right? North and south, love, hate. These are polarities. Strong, weak, yes? This is how life exists. Now, in Nahj al-Balagha, there's a hadith from the Holy Prophet, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and it's recorded, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. O Ali, the believer will never be your enemy, and the hypocrite will never love you. The enemy will never be the one who loves you. And the hypocrite will never be the one who loves you. Only the believer. Only the believer. And this is from our beloved Prophet. Now, talking about this love, Ayatollah Motahari says in his writings, Shiism, he says, it is at its core founded on love. Its foundation is lain with devotion. There's another hadith that comes to us from Imam Al-Baqir and Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam that attests to this truth of love. It says, is the religion other than love? Is the religion other than love? So love is devotional love. It's steadfastness to truth. It sends true devotees to levels of self-sacrifice that cannot be seen elsewhere and across time. The true devotees are willing to sacrifice everything for the sake of their beloved. Let's look at some examples. We know Maidah, he was crucified to a tree, yet he was ceaseless in his loving praise of Ali, spouting devotion through torture and pain, ultimately leading to the prophecy of Imam Ali salam coming true. And that was that Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, may curses be upon him, ordered the tongue of Maidah to be cut in order to cease the words that sparked fires of love and devotion to anyone listening. This is what the enemies always did. They had to silence the devotees of the Ahlul Bayt. If they couldn't stop them through threats, they had to stop them through physical action, through torture, through death, because they had no other way to gain control over their powerful message. Now, Ibn as-Sikyat, he's a noteworthy figure of Arabic literature and language, and he was a peer of as-Sibawi, who is known as one of our most important grammarians. He was the tutor of the Abbasid Caliphs al-Mutawakkil's children. And he was asked once, who was dearer to him, the sons of Ali alayhi salam or the children of the Caliph? And he said, by Allah, I swear that Ali's slave, Qambar, is definitely dearer to me than these two and their father. And what fate did he suffer for uttering this love and devotion? The same as Maidah as well, tongue cut. Cutting that tongue that utters the truth, because they don't know how else to deal with the truth. Now, in Dur al-Mandur, which is by the Sunni scholar As-Sayuti, we find the following hadith. Aliyun wa shi'atuhu humul fa'izun. Ali and his party, his Shia, will be the triumphant ones. These will be the triumphant ones. Now, Motahari goes on to tell us something more about love. What does he say? He says, these whisperings of love, we see that there was a group around Ali who were devoted to him, extremely fond of him, and most affectionately drawn towards him. So here again, what does he say? Shiism is the religion of love and devotion. Taking Ali as one's friend is the way of love. The element of love has completely penetrated Shiism. And when you hear these words tonight, I implore you to reflect on that. Have you reached this level of love? Have you reached this level of devotion? Has this penetrated your being? Or are you preoccupied with other worldly dunya things? Have you reached this level of chemistry of love? Now we know from the ancient esoteric art of alchemy that there's this process known as transmutation. And this is taking one substance and changing it into another by utilizing what is known as the elixir. The true elixir is in fact known by the mystics to be nothing but the power and force of love. In the 16th century, there was an Iranian poet who put it beautifully. His name was Kirmani. He said, every heart that is not aflame is no heart. Every heart that is not aflame is no heart. A frozen heart is nothing but a handful of clay. What a beautiful word. And then he goes on. He says, oh God, give me a breast that sets ablaze, and in that breast a heart, and that heart consumed with fire. Love, therefore, brothers and sisters, is a force that moves. It gives impetus. It makes us truly human. It makes us more than clay. It makes us living beings. Love generates concern. Love generates compassion, action. It awakens sleeping powers within you. It perfects your soul. It brings out hidden capacities and strengths. This is what love does. And furthermore, love generates obedience, service, selflessness. And I want to use another important word, and I want to highlight it in contrast to the social crises we find ourselves in the Western world and the Eastern world. No doubt there's no difference. Loyalty. Love engenders loyalty. Brothers and sisters, when we look at the media today, we see these barbaric acts being perpetuated of shootings, innocent people dying. We see the tragedy in the Middle East of so many people being oppressed. But also, within our own society, we have had the most grievous headlines, and it's by the name of the Ashley Madison leak. This is, without going into too much detail, a shame upon humanity that there even exists such an entity. And for those of you who don't know, you can do your research. But nonetheless, what does this mean? I'm talking to you about loyalty and love and trust. How are we as a society embroiled in a world in which people choose to be disloyal purposefully as a recreation? Disloyalty as recreation. How about that? Where have we sunk as humanity? Would you know that one of the most esteemed countries in the Middle East, Turkey, prized for its history, prized for its architecture, prized for its huge population of Muslims, is the #1 place in the world for sexual trafficking? What a criminal state our world is in. And how beloved is Allah to us and merciful that all of this exists in our midst, and yet He still allows us to exist and live and breathe. Subhanallah. But let's come back to this idea of love. Because if love doesn't transform us and make us more decent human beings, then proclaiming the love of Imam Ali is just your lips. Let's get beyond that tonight. Mutahari again goes on to tell us that love awakens sleeping powers, frees chained and fettered forces, just like the splitting of the atom and the freeing of atomic power. It fires with inspiration. Love perfects the soul and brings out astounding latent abilities. It strengthens the will and determination. And when it rises to the highest aspect, it brings miracles, mu'jiza, supernatural events into existence. It purifies the spirit. It's cathartic. It's cleansing. It's purging. And it takes us away from those qualities of the base egotism. It takes us away from coldness into warmth. It moves us away from envy, avarice, cowardice, laziness, conceitedness, and self-admiration. As I make these lists, think about yourself. Which one of these do you need to work on? Certainly, we all need to work on all of them, but pick one before you leave tonight. Love, in fact, is something that moves you out of yourself and into life. Love moves you out of yourself and into life. It's different than the base animalistic passions which arise from the passionate urges, and they also end there. Passion lives and dies within itself, but love goes beyond. Passions keep you enmeshed in the tangled webs of yourself, but love frees you. Now, for those of you who consider yourselves lovers of Ali, alayhi salam, is that the only goal? Is that an end in itself? Are we just doing this ritual of praise? Or are we making it a means of purification, refinement, change? Is this love an opportunity for the devotees to strive to the highest virtues, morals, excellence? Is this love an opportunity for the best qualities to rub off on you for the one you love? Yes? Are you going to be like him? Now, the Quran warns us to be careful of who we associate with, right? Because it rubs off on us. Now, if we want to be those who associate with Imam Ali alayhi salam, inshallah, his qualities rub off on us. And we take them on purposefully. And inshallah, resemble him. Now, Mutahari also tells us that the effects of the intellect alone are not what can reform us in our morals. No. Intellect alone cannot take us out of the evils of life. That's like, he said, this is a beautiful explanation. He says, if you want to just use the intellect, just your knowledge, to make you elevate yourself, he says it's like sitting with a pile of iron fillings and dust and trying to separate them by your hand. Iron fillings and dust, separating by hand. What an excruciating and troublesome task, he says. But on the contrary, love, which is like a powerful magnet in your hand, could separate that in one sweep. In one sweep, the power of love is like a magnet that removes from you those things which defile you and leaves that which is pure. Love is movement, love is change. It's surging with life. And lethargy cannot take hold. Now, I've said to you that there's an opposite when it comes to love, and that is hate. There's those who hated Imam Ali with a passion. There's those who opposed him at every step of the way. And now, as a student in Islamic studies, reading this history firsthand, I cannot tell you how much turmoil our beloved Imam Ali faced on the battlefields, faced in the communities, faced when he had to rectify all that had gone wrong prior to his leadership being finally acknowledged. He dealt with so much. I want to read to you a small quote from the Battle of Siffin. In the Battle of Siffin, there was someone by the name of Jada bin Hubayra. And he was challenged to a duel with Utbah, Muawiyah's brother. Now, Utbah came out taunting him. Yes, this is the second civil war, by the way, in the history of Islam. So Imam Ali had to face all of this opposition, not just verbal opposition, not just political maneuvering, but he had to face civil wars. And this was the second one. Now, in this situation, what did Utbah say to Jada? He said, you're out here because you just merely love your maternal uncle, Ali. He's trying to belittle the purpose for why this man is standing by Imam Ali. But Jada comes back with a reply. He says, as for my love for my maternal uncle, if you had one like him, you would forget your father, Abu Sufyan. As for the superior excellence of Ali over Muawiyah, no two men would disagree about that. No two men would disagree about that. As for your statement that there is not a man in Syria more serious in warfare and no man in Iraq equal in seriousness to Ali, this is how it should be, he reminds him. For Ali is moved by his certitude, while Muawiyah is held back by his doubting. Yes, and the resolution of the people of truth is better than the endeavor of the people of falsehood. And as for your assertion, you are more obedient to Muawiyah than we are to Ali, by God, we do not ask him when he keeps silent, nor do we contradict him when he speaks. So this loyal servant of Imam Ali sets the record straight. And you want me to stop talking about Imam Ali? Food's more important than Imam Ali? Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. MashaAllah. There's nothing more important tonight than this remembrance. There's nothing more important, despite how delicious and fantastic it is. And despite the fact that our servers are eager to serve you, I have to tell you just a bit more about Imam Ali alayhi salam. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, keep in mind that once this was stated, Utbah comes out and he attacks again verbally, but actually when the battle came to pass, he was the one to flee. He didn't actually confront Jeddah and his men. He left the battlefield. Now, I want to tell you about 3 groups. And when I finish this, I want you to think about where you belong in terms of your love of Imam Ali alayhi salam. There are 3 groups that opposed him: the Nakithun, Qasitun, and Mariqun. Who are these? There were those who were the breakers of allegiance, and these were the people of the Battle of Jamal, the Nakithun. There were those who were political players, liars, dealers, deception, misinformation, eager for sedition. They wanted to use force and intimidation. They were cunning. They used threats. These were the Qasitun, those who deviate. And they were those in the Battle of Siffin. They were like Muawiyah and his followers. Then there are those who were fanatics. They were dangerously ignorant, overtly pious, sanctimonious, holier than thou. These are the Mariqun. These are those who missed the truth of the religion. And these were the people from the Battle of Nahrawan. God forbid we fall in any of these categories. God forbid we are those who break our allegiance. God forbid we are those who deviate. God forbid we are those who miss the point of this religion. So tonight, as I end my topic, I want you in your mind's eye to imagine yourself there and take a moment, and let's become quiet, brothers and sisters, for just a moment. And if you feel it, if you feel so moved, close your eyes and imagine yourself, brothers and sisters, quietly imagining yourself there at Ghadir Khum, with the sun beating down on your back. You have just seen the Prophet raise the hand of Ali, and now it is time for you to come forward and congratulate him and make your bay'ah. Imagine doing that right now. Take a moment, brothers and sisters, to close your eyes and see yourself making that commitment right now, right here, today. Bend your knee, take his hand, and be truthful to him about who you really are and whether you are dignified enough to live up to this commitment of taking him, Imam Ali alayhi salam, as your leader. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.